So just I just like to read a verse. You may have to remind me to come back to it. But, anyway, at some point I will be referring to, very briefly, nothing special, Habakkuk 2, verse 2. Very well-known couple of verses in but it's sort of relevant to the work I do in, well, so as you probably heard, that I'm involved in Bible translation. So in connection with that, this is the verse that I find quite intriguing, and I'll try to explain it as in verse 2 here in Habakkuk 2, read this. The Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he may run. Read back to that because that's a question I don't know for you. But. So as we see here, this is the work the Lord has called me to. And I work here in the country of Chad, which is, geographically speaking, the fifth largest country in Africa. There you see it, smack dab in the heart of things. Now, the general situation, well, let's just pray before we go. Lord, we just thank you again for this opportunity to share. Blessings around them. I live in the government is difficult, but I'll take it on there. So it's like Sahara Desert, and we have 30 languages spoken, according to our reckonings, in the country. And this is the challenge that we have when trying to get the word out to people in languages that they understand. 30 languages, and that not all of them will need translation. Starting point. Now, the challenge also is with literacy. With all these languages, the two official languages are French and Arabic, but because it was a French colony, that's that. And there's been quite an there's ethnic Arabs and other influence from the Muslim areas of the continent. Also but nonetheless, only about 20% of the people can write. So that's a challenge when you're translating the Bible. You want people to read it, right? So that's part of the whole complex of what we're involved in. Now, religiously, you look things up, about 55% of the population are Muslims, okay? Whatever that means. And of course, religious adherence is a very fluid thing in some sense. We don't have a really hardcore Muslims in most of the country. There are some areas where we have to be very sensitive about how we deal with it. But for the most part, it's not constant threat either to Christians in the country or to us as workers. So that's just part of the reality. 35% are reckoned to be Christian, and there's quite a large body of evangelical Protestants that actually started 100 years ago actually ago. And this year, actually, I think it was either last year or this year, we're celebrating 100 years of the assemblies being present in the country. There was a little brother who came back in 1925, 1926, and he first started to work in the country. And as an outgrowth of the work that he started, we now have more than 2,000 assemblies in the country. It's a bit shocking to people. Assemblies in Chad than there are in this. So, but this is part of the reality. We have our own prayer requests, um, but again, of the Protestants, the mainline Protestants, if you will, the Protestant denomination, which are still quite Bible centered. So we have that. Now the Catholics, they're also quite numerous as well. But interesting is that even though it's a French colony, the Protestants actually arrived with the mission of but nonetheless, despite that, so you had 55 and 35. So we still have even those that claim to be Muslims or Christians still much appearance of tradition. So there's the challenge religiously. Now, my work, as I tried to, is not directly in the process of Bible translation as such, but I'm a support worker with with some technical expertise to help the and basically to address evolving language, whether it be for Bible translation, other development language, try to make that a little bit clearer as we go. First of all, I have some within the last year or two, some experiences I went through as a sort of a sample of this sort of. Now, on the left there, you see a map of the country, part of it, which is broken up into the different languages and the language areas speak. Reflects the language families. Now, even so, they're not intercomprehensible. Had some, they've had missionaries since the earliest years. In fact, they've had a complete Bible since. Is anyone familiar with the ministry of gospel? It's actually been a minute. but you get an idea of what one of the. And so, of course, they've had the Bible actually completely completed since 1980. But they're now doing a revision, and they realize that the writing system of the language is in need of a big overhaul because of lots of complications and people can't manage it. So anyway, so they've called on us, and me in particular on this occasion, to come together with the community. This is what we would normally do. Bring a lot of, and we hashed over some of the problem areas in the writing system. So what letters are we using, and how are we writing the words? How are we breaking one word from another? All these are parts of what we call the orthography. And those have to be made systematic and need to be standardized. So that's the goal. And of course, we can't, we don't want people just to write any which way. We want, like English, we may not like the orthography. Nonetheless, it's standardized. And it's a standard writing. That's not the case for most of these languages. So this is we're on the vision of what so there. Oh, we went to the board, and I was there, and they're all sitting back there. They went to the board too, whatever. So we discussed different ways here is an example. It's not very necessarily very good. Letters they recognize themselves. So it's done in conjunction with the speakers of the language themselves. So maybe this is a good time to go back to the Bible verse that I read. You know, what did it say there? Write things down. So when we do a Bible translation, put it down. I mean, it's a testimony to the permanence of the scriptures of God's word. In fact, this is the big trend these days. Well, that's great, and if it's reaching people, that's great. But still, as long as it doesn't really convince me that it's a term, that the word that you're seeing is really the permanent word. So we have the precedent of God. God tells them to write things. And then, what does it say? That he may, wait a minute. Write it down, write the prophecy down, write the vision, and make it plain on tablets that he may run who reads it. Well, that's the one that I don't quite understand. There's been several different interpretations in the commentators about run with the message. What I like is actually the way it applies. And in fact, in French, which is the language of actually the word is so that you would translate so that in other words, fluent, right? So that's the idea, I think, and to me, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, if we're having people read the scriptures, we want them to read it fluently. Some of the challenges are they read it word for word, and then oh, is that what it means? And then they start over and they read it a second time. With our experience, we sometimes do that in English, but that's not the usual thing. People we're reading aloud. We strive not to stumble too much as we read. And we want to show that we're reading it fluently so that when someone hears it, oh, yes. Anyway, so I throw that out for what it's. Okay, so that's what we're striving for, even in these local languages. And for example, here's another language that I've we visited the local village, and we had about 30 people together, and we all had work on it. Now look, like all these different things mean different things, right? And they all sound almost like oi, oi, oi. Oh is like and then there's tone. So there's oi, oi, and all things like that. So the tone enters into changing the meaning too. And I will have some more illustrations of that problem as we try to write. Um, I'll let you just marvel in the complexity. Well, it's not all like this. This is of course I've chosen this example to illustrate the point. But the point is that we have to write things so that we don't have ambiguity, and that people will understand what is being done. Now, in terms of tools to help translators, there is this developed by the Bible Society and with the Bible Translation. And it's a powerful tool. Actually, translation perhaps not to fall into based on the experience of translation. The only accessible way is as the actual translator. Now, the best translators really are the native speakers. It's not foreigners like myself. So we try to engage with the native speakers together. And I'm not even one of those that works directly with native speakers on most occasions. So I will come back to these things, but we'll have a brief interlude now as we go to the middle of the country and visit the Mawa. This is a place where I've been connected with regularly over the last 30 years. And this is a totally Muslim village, but they're not opposed to Christianity, but they are only likely Islam. When I first visited the village, not even a mosque in the village. So, I mean, it gives you a little bit of a flavor of how deeply rooted they actually still worship the mountains. I've not lived in the area, but I've worked on the language. And there is now an evangelist living in the village. And so that's just in the last. As well as many other groups like them. It's not a very big group. It's only like about 10,000 or less who speak this language in like a dozen different. And that's the way it is all throughout the country. So, you go 20 or 30 miles and it's a totally different language. Okay, there you even have a sample of the written language there. Okay, so I was speaking a minute ago about the problems of tone, the pitch of the voice when different words are being. So here in this very language, I have and then there's hail that comes down from the sky, sheep, that's so the tone makes a difference, and that has to be encoded somehow in the writing system so that ambiguity or avoided, right? And have these things. And even sometimes grammatical differences are done just by tone. So good, good. Again, that's the answer. So okay, so again, we have the same thing in another language called theming. So is past tense and who the difference. But originally, that difference was not written in the writing system. So they were not writing anything distinguished whether the verb was past, present, future. So therefore, when you come to a verse like Revelations 22:7, you have this word with no indication of whether you're talking about the past or the future. Jesus said, "Behold, I came quickly." Or Jesus said, "Behold, I will come quickly." It's all written the same way. So how are you going to distinguish what the meaning is? I mean, maybe from the wider context, it becomes clear, but there's potential confusion there. And these are the places where we find that we really have got to make the distinction and make a systematic spelling change. So that's what we've decided. So that for this case, I will put an accent on that. That's to draw your eyes to it. So again, it's the problem of tone. And we actually have to organize workshops to work on this with individuals. So that this is what they do. Then sometimes I have to write up the things that I've learned about the language. Another thing that I'm heavily involved with is training the younger generation. So October, do it again this October, to train some of these folks who are up and coming workers in Bible translation. Program. French college. Now, okay, I mentioned this Ministry of Gospel Recordings. This fellow here, he is a good friend of mine for 35 years. I first met him when he first started to come to our assembly, and he is now the Central Africa coordinator for the work of gospel, and it's actually based in California. What they do is they make evangelistic messages that they record and play in all the different languages. I found that in the catalog chat of the different languages, have something in for Chad. But Joseph here, my friend, they've come to realize, oh, the quality of these translated messages that they're translated locally. So he's the study as to how they can improve. So last year I was teaching a course in phonology, which is a systematic study of the sound system of languages. And this is basically the first step that one has to do to analyze a language that's never to figure out what's the appropriate alphabet. What are the letters that we need to distinguish them? So this was a 4-week course, and there's the So some of them were linguistic specialists, but others were literacy workers and from all the French speakers. Now, I'll finish up with my son, if you will. This Albert, he came to me about 8 or 9 years ago. And after he was a linguistics student at the time, and he wanted to do like a practicum with me, like a one-on-one thing. Came to a course, so I reluctantly accepted him because we don't seem serious. And immediately I discovered that he was the Christian. They recommended they come and he ate them up. And he's grown so tremendously. And so now I am officially his mentor in this new program, which is trying to Africa to do this. So I'm officially his mentor, and he is taking courses. So here we are in class. And here he is with his wife, Annie, and the little boy. They're expecting new. So now I'll just close with some prayer. As you may or may not have heard, I cannot go back to Chad at the moment because the U.S. has stopped granting visas to Chadians to come to the U.S. and so Chad reciprocated. And as a result, once my visa expired some year, I had to leave, and I the first. Nonetheless, in the meanwhile, I'm planning before the end of the year to make 4 more trips to different places in Africa for different reasons. The one in Togo is actually part of this program of mentoring albums. And also, so pray for Albert, and the Lord is directing him. And also, as I mentioned, that's basically. Yeah. Uh, well, I think the upfront read. Other it, but because of the to opportunity, if you will, because we can go into the humanitarian agencies that are in charge of it won't let you do events, but we can nonetheless get they election local area, and they can even make money. Oh, sorry. Um, well, it's a tool. Yes, I should have anticipated. Okay, well, yes, that is an obvious relevant question. Of course, now the one thing, in fact, I've written this up a little, but AI depends on around out there. If they've got like, but no, it's not. She was thought up for that. So, and there's another, actually, some of our colleagues about um, if you AI, if you can use it at all, I do. I don't know. Oh, you'll sit there. Well, that's just the writing system. Now, AI, if they think, well, I guess if they care, like a word, okay. Does anybody support the one? Yeah, it's spreading the news, right? Running with the news, right? I mean, that's because it is popular. Doesn't. Like the only thing is, I mean, um, in certain areas, certain the Muslim very fundamental side, so you've got to be very careful about it. That's not the general. But no, you wouldn't be in I mean, the secular state. I mean, you can imagine that there's a lot of people that there's yeah. Oh, you forgot. Well, I mean, is there any kind of oh, it's just break time, right? But so I mean, do have the courage to um should we ask someone